Hey guys. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to my YouTube channel. I'm Kitsy Higgins, and I help women succeed with the help of their deceased loved ones. And as always, please like this video and please like my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date with all my YouTube videos. And as always, if you connect with this video, please share. Today, I have a special guest, Kelly Dawn. I've been following her for years. She was my private coach back at Christmas time. And I had a lot of great shifts with you. And I'm so thrilled to have you on video today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes. Kelly Dawn is a psychic coach and a witchcraft mentor. And I wanted to talk today about, because I know the one of the first things I did with you was I signed up for your uh, spell, you are your spell workshop. And it talked about how essentially we could create our lives. And you asked a big question of who do you need to be in order to achieve the thing that you're desiring. And one of the things was my goal is that I desire people purchasing my digital courses, one of the biggest things. And so you listed like two or three things that, the people in your audience is going to find you and they're going to purchase. But then I listed like 10 or 15 other ways on how I felt that by being that, I would achieve that. So could you talk more about that? How can people step into being a different version of them to achieve the thing that they desire?
Yeah, for sure. I love this topic because whenever we're talking about manifestation, it's really all about our identity and our self-concept. So the way that we think and feel about ourselves and the world around us, that's really shaping the experience that we're having. And so if we desire something different for ourselves, whether that's in our life or our business, the first step is to ask ourselves, okay, well, what is that? Like, what does that actually look like? Because that clarity is going to help you so much with that question of, who do I get to become in order to have that experience? Because if we're not having the experience that we want to have right now in the present moment, something just needs to change. It doesn't have to be a drastic thing. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but there does have to be a change because we're operating on these different timelines. And if we want something different, that different experience is on a different timeline. And so we have to think a little bit differently, feel a little bit differently, and that's really our frequency and our energy, and then show up in the world accordingly. So we really become the person who's already in that experience. And really common examples for people are money and love. You see people who are really deeply desiring like a soulmate connection, like a serious long-term relationship, but they're entertaining things that are not of that. They're entertaining things that don't really vibe with that experience, and that's why they're not having it. But when they step into this place of deep self-love and they start falling in love with their own life and they're filling themselves up with that love that they think that they need to get from someone else, that's when everyone starts coming through, and that's when they get asked out on dates all the time and the partners are just basically lined up at their door. And with money, it's a really common one for most of us is people desire more abundance, and they often feel like, well, I need to have the money in the bank before I can really be that successful person. And it's never like that. It's always the opposite way. We always go first. And so when you realize that you get to enjoy this limitless wealth in the universe because you are the source of your own abundance, and you practice feeling that safety and security and abundance that you think money is going to give you, that's when the clients come in. That's when the different opportunities come in, or those inspired ideas that will allow you to call more money in just come through so easily. And that's when manifestation gets to be really easy and flowy, because we become the version of us who's already in that end experience. So it's really about taking a look at, firstly, what do I want? And then if I were already there, what would I be thinking about? Like with the money example, what would I be thinking about money consistently if I already had, $1 million in the bank today? Like, how would I be feeling with that money? Like, When I went to go buy my coffee, would I be kind of cringing over spending like a few dollars on a coffee? Or would I be like, oh, there's plenty more where that came from, right? Those small little micro alignments make such a big difference because we're living our life moment by moment by moment. And it's how we're responding to the world around us and to our internal landscape that's really shaping that experience. And so some things that might seem like very minor tweaks add up and they compound into a very massive shift in our identity. And that's when we start to see the results in our 3D reality.
Love it. Love it. Tell me more. Can you give the example of your boxing? Because I remember that's what you said in the one workshop was your boxing experience. That's
Oh,
another
with
good
Muay Thai.
example. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have never been the most coordinated athletic person like my entire life. And then I had a stroke back in 2016. So my brain and my body don't always want to do, it doesn't always match up the way that I want it to. And a few years ago, this is going back to, oh, I think it was like 2020 or 2021. Things were opening up after COVID hit. And it was back when I lived in the city, and I was really desiring to do something with my fitness that wasn't just going to the gym and doing weights and going for runs, because I'd been doing that and that was fun. But I wanted something that was a little more challenging. And I started taking Muay Thai lessons. And I fell in love with it right from the get-go, but I sucked. Like I sucked so bad because I had like zero coordination. And there were times when I would get really frustrated with myself. And I had a one-to-one coach. Her name's Grace. We're really good friends to this day. And she really helped me through it with being really like kind and compassionate with myself when it came to learning the moves. And what I noticed is that after I got the basics down and I knew what the mechanics were, when I let go and I just assumed that I was really good at Muay Thai, I put myself in this identity of I'm a pro Muay Thai fighter, even though that wasn't my actual reality. I did actually think about getting into a fight, but I broke my foot, so that never happened. But anyways, I really took on the identity of a pro fighter. And so from there, training became so much easier. Watching my diet became so much easier because I was living in this identity of a pro athlete. And everything just became so flowy and so fun because it's just who I was. And then I also started to notice when I was doing my training, things started to flow a lot easier because in my brain, I had created these new neural pathways that basically said, you know exactly how to do this. You're a pro fighter. You know exactly how to do these moves. And so, of course, like practice and consistency is really important, especially when we're doing physical things like that. But that shift in identity can make such a difference because we're no longer in this energy of trying. We're no longer thinking like, that goal that I have, it's up here on a pedestal and I'm trying to reach it. I'm trying to manifest it. No, you just become it. Like you just become the version of you who's already there. And like another example around this is people who feel like they have to try to be abundant. Well, do you have to try to be happy or do you just decide to be happy and you are it? It's the same thing. Like you just be it. And we can change those internal states a lot easier than a lot of people realize, but there's so much programming and so much conditioning around what we should believe about certain things or how long we think things should take to happen. And it's all stories that we have picked up from other people or that we picked up from our past experiences and decided that those things are true for us, but they're only true because we keep believing them.
So true. So that's true with money. If we think that we're abundant, then we just are abundant. And it's that
Mhm.
simple. Sometimes I get in moments of kind of questioning it. Um, like how do you deal with that? Like when you question it?
What I like to do is remind myself that I don't live there anymore. Like there was a lifetime where I stressed over money and it felt really, really hard and everything felt like a struggle. And it was this nonstop source of chaos and stress. And anytime anything pops up into my awareness that wants to kind of like suck me back into that energy, I'm like, oh, I don't do that anymore. I used to, but I don't do that anymore. And in my own past, I used to be addicted to drugs. I had eating disorders and I also smoked cigarettes. And so I like to pull from those real life examples of things that feel very like tangible. And I'm like, oh, I don't smoke a cigarette anymore because I'm not a smoker. I don't do drugs anymore because I I don't do drugs. It's not something that I do. So if I ever would get any kind of thought pop into my head that would want to pull me in that direction, it's like, oh no, that's not who I am, because I don't identify with that version of me anymore. So just kind of like gently reminding yourself that that might have been the way that you did things in the past, but that's not the way that you do them now or moving forward.
I love it because I think I had that situation the last time I had the coaching with you, and I had that moment, and like my money situation kind of dipped. It was all like difficult, and you like said this stuff. You're like, oh, just focus on the future, focus on what you want, and just like don't. I forget. I think you were like, don't get concerned and just spend your money, and then it like kind of worked itself out. But like, why does that happen? Do you know the reason why that happens? Sometimes why we get glitchy with what used to be rather than what was going so well.
Yeah. So everything's happening all at once. And the things that we think are in the past are happening right now, just on a different timeline. And
Mhm.
because we have a lot of programming, we have our histories and we have these memories from the past, they can pop up and they can seem really real. And that's what can kind of pull us in that old way of being. And so it's normal for these things to pop up because our human brain likes to bring things up from the past, because whenever we're growing and expanding into something new, like if we're manifesting a new money goal, that feels very unsafe usually for our nervous system and for our brain. And so it will pull things, it'll pull like records from the past. And we're like, hey, remember when we spent this money and we didn't make it back? Remember when this happened? Remember when that happened? And you're like, oh shit, I'm scared again. Okay. As long as you're scared, as long as you're in fear, you're not in growth and expansion. But to your brain and your body, that means you're safe and you're going to stay alive. So it wants to keep you right there. And so it's really about asking yourself, do I want to be comfortable in this fear, even though I know it's not what I want, it's what's known? Or do I want to stretch today beyond what is normal into the unknown for me, where I know that I get to create the reality that I want to create, but it's something different and it's something I desire, but it's really about like making that choice. There's the unknown. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this in his work, that mystery of the unknown that we always get to step into, or we can just go back to living the same thing over and over again. And that's why you see so many people are walking around in this world like it's fucking Groundhog Day, and they're just doing the same thing over and over again, because the majority of the thoughts that we think, they're just repeated thoughts from the day before and the day before and the day before. And so something that can be really helpful is doing things that break you out of your regular routine and incorporating things like meditation that take you out of the usual life that you live, where you're constantly seeing the same people, places, and things. Like those things are great to have. It's great to go to the same coffee shop and be around your friends and family, of course. But if you desire something different, you have to go to that place in the unknown. And so something like meditation, where you're able to just detach from the stories, from the fears, from the programming, and allow yourself to play in this realm of possibilities, it can be so powerful because it's going to open you up to what actually is available. And the more you open up to that, the more it can start to feel familiar. And you're like, okay, well, this is really unknown for me. I've never made X number of dollars before, but I can start to feel into what life would be like if I had that kind of money coming in. Or I've never had a relationship that's really safe and stable, but I can imagine when I'm playing in this realm of possibilities that that could feel really good for me. I'm going to go over here and imagine this a little bit more, a little bit more. So it starts to feel normal. And then when maybe people from your past come in that are absolute chaos and walking red flags, you're like, yeah, you know what? That doesn't do it for me. Like at one point in time, that felt very normal. It doesn't anymore, because this over here, even though it hasn't manifested fully, is something that feels more true for me in my body. So it's really like a practice of putting ourselves into the energy, into the frequency of where we desire to be, and then just gently guiding ourselves over to that place as often as possible until we're living there. And when we start to live there energetically, that's when things start to flow in so much easier, because we're in alignment with that reality. And in the coaching space, I'm hurt, like the word alignment gets tossed around like confetti all the time, but that's all it means. It means like, this is what I desire. Am I in alignment with it or not? So am I thinking like that version of me? Am I feeling like that version of me? And equally important, am I showing up in the world as that version of me and taking action from that place?
Mm, that's awesome. I love it. I was just feeling joy you talking about it. I was like, oh, this feels so good talking about this stuff. Um, so talking about like going to the different version. I love this stuff. I would like to say that I really understand this stuff, but I grasp it. But it's still something that it's just so much fun. And I know like feeling joy and I know feeling radiant. I know that stuff is just like a high level. So I know I'm kind of working at like a high vibration when I'm feeling that type of stuff, which is great. Um, Recently I thought to myself, like I desired a relationship that's kind of, I'm bringing in this type of person right now, which is great. But I'm kind of looking for someone uh, kind of more cultured, more, uh, what is it, with like a college degree. I tend to attract people that don't have a college degree. Um, Cultured, that likes going to museums, that likes exploring the world. Um, like, how do I get into that level of manifesting that type of person? Which I feel that I am that person, but if I'm around those people, I don't feel totally comfortable. And I know at some point, if I desire someone like that, I'm going to have to be comfortable in that setting even more. So, how do I do that?
Yeah. You just practice being that version of you yourself. And so putting yourself in those environments and going to museums and doing the different things that you would want your partner to be doing, you do all of that first for yourself. And an important thing with manifestation is that the doing of the things for ourselves and not in order to get, because the energy of I'm going to do these things over here to get a certain result can actually repel the result that we want. Whereas when we're doing things for the sheer pleasure and enjoyment and expansion of it, that's when we embody the energy a lot easier, a lot faster, and then we become magnetic to things that are of a like vibration. And so with that example, say if someone, they're like, yeah, I want a partner like that too, but they didn't like going to museums. They had zero interest in any of the things that you shared, but they thought that they had to do that in order to attract that person. That's going to create a lot of resistance and it's probably not going to be very effective in helping them get more of what they want. But say they want someone who loves to go camping and is into hunting and all those things, and that's really what lights them up. Well, then them doing those things over there is so much like it's going to be so much more easy for them to attract that person because they're embodying it and they're already a match for it. So getting clear on what you want and on who you are is so important, which you've already done the work around that. So it's going to be even easier for you. But like allowing yourself to just become more and more of that person. And then when you are feeling uncomfortable, you can go within and be like, oh, that's so interesting. Like I was noticing that I was feeling some anxiety or some discomfort in this situation. What's going on there? And just getting curious with it. Like asking questions can be so powerful. Like we don't always need to go digging around looking for the blocks and the resistance and all of that stuff, but just getting really curious and be like, huh, I noticed that I was really uncomfortable in that situation. How interesting. And then sitting with that discomfort and not letting it be something that we're making really important and allowing the feeling to just kind of like wash over us and move through it. Because whenever we have these things come up, it's just energy that wants to move. And what a lot of people do, and this is something I used to do in the past all the time with fear, is they would try to stop that feeling of discomfort and kind of push it away. It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
want to do this thing, but I'm feeling fear. So I'm just going to like, I'm going to hesitate and I put the brakes on because I don't want to feel the fear. Well, if you just feel it and you sit with it and you let the fullness of the fear move through you, you realize, oh, I can be afraid and I'm okay. And the more you sit with this feeling of like, I'm afraid and I'm okay, the more resilient you become and you do things that stretch you way beyond your perceived comfort zone. And you're able to grow and expand in a way that's also safe for your nervous system because you're allowing yourself to really get into this feeling of okayness, of safety when the fear comes up. And then you're doing bigger things and bigger things and bigger things. Like I remember years ago, I was like a 5-day confidence challenge for entrepreneurs. And the coach had us do, I think it was like a 30-second intro video. And it wasn't live, it's before Facebook Lives were even a thing. This is years and years ago. But we just had to record the video on our phone saying who we are and what we did. It took me well over 2 hours to record a 30-second video because I was so terrified of being seen. I hated the way I looked on video. I hated the way I sounded, like I was picking myself apart. I was in tears at the end of this whole ordeal over a 30-second video. And it was like something that just like stretched me to my absolute limit. And now, like, I can hop on live streams, I can do videos, I have a podcast, like, it doesn't even phase me whatsoever. But that didn't happen overnight. That took that growth and that sitting with the discomfort and sitting with the fear of being seen and doing the thing anyway at the same time. And you just keep doing that, doing that, and doing that. And then the growth happens, and you look back and you're like, oh, wow, I don't even recognize that version of me.
I can so relate. I've been doing this YouTube thing, oh my gosh, for 7 years. And yeah, I mean, I can see where I was back then, and it's just a very different energy than where I'm at now. But yeah, so it does require a little bit of time to get comfortable and to really step into that different version. You've brought up twice your nervous system and having your nervous system be safe. Explain more about that and manifesting and or feeling different feelings.
Okay. Oh, this is such a good question. So with manifesting, what can happen is people, they have the desire for what they want to call in and they start affirming that it's already theirs. So using the money example, I'm a millionaire. I receive money with total ease, total grace, and total flow. It's so easy for me to make money. It's so easy for me to call in large amounts of money. Well, you can be chanting affirmations like that until you are blue in the face. But if internally your nervous system does not feel safe to receive and hold money, it's not going to do a damn bit of good, because your body is what we like, our energy, our nervous system is what we're manifesting from. And so we can consciously say that we want something, but if internally it feels safer for us to not have what we want, we're going to keep manifesting what we don't want. And so the mindset piece, like, there's nothing wrong with affirmations at all, but what I recommend people do is affirm something that feels safer to them. And so instead of saying like, I'm a multimillionaire, you might want to say, I'm getting better and better with my finances every day, or I'm feeling more comfortable with money every single day. And just tweaking the affirmation. So when you say it, your subconscious mind isn't going like, bullshit, that's not true. You don't really believe that. That's an absolute lie, because you're just kind of blocking yourself when you do that. And then incorporating things like EFT tapping or breath work or different somatic practices to really get your nervous system feeling more regulated, because this safety thing is so, so important. What I've seen in the coaching industry, where people come in and they might go from 0 to 25K months, and then they've never had that before. That feels completely unsafe in their body to receive and hold. And they end up in the hospital the next month. And of course, it doesn't happen to everyone, but I've seen it happen in a few different people. And it's some unexplained thing that just popped up to kind of knock them off their game, or they'll have money flowing in like they've never had it before. But because they're not feeling safe with having that money, they'll get massive expenses coming through. And so they might make 25K and they have $10,000 go out the window because they need a new car or they need a new roof or something like that on their house, right? So doing that regulation work, the biggest thing I can recommend around this is reminding yourself that in the present moment, you're safe and you're okay. This is something I learned from a coach. His name is Jesse Elder, years and years ago. He used to do these little mind vitamin videos. So I'm not even sure if the original video is still around or not, but basically taking a moment to remind yourself that regardless of what is going on right now in your circumstances, in this very moment, if you are alive and you're breathing, you're okay. You're safe and you're okay. And if you can feel that safety and security from within, just for like a couple seconds, all you have to do is keep practicing that, because we all have the ability to do it. And when we get in that place where you're like, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm okay in this present moment, we just build upon it. And then when we're calling in more amounts of money, we have that foundation of internal safety and security. So the money has a safe place to land energetically, and we're not going to do something to repel it right away.
Love it. Those are all extremely, extremely important. And so the affirmations would be something with I am working better with money, or I'm receiving money better.
Yeah,
right?
like whatever feels true for you. Like every day I'm more open to receiving money. Like every day I'm feeling more and more safe and secure to receive money.
Receive money. I think that's so helpful. The sometimes I go gambling with my one friend, and he'll put money in, and then whatever money I make above and beyond that is mine. And it's kind of one of my part-time jobs. And I make good money when I work with him. And two times I've made like $900, which is outstanding. But this one time I didn't have the money to put back in. He wasn't willing to put, oh, because I'm lucky. That's why. That's why I go with him, is because he tends to make money when I'm there with him. So he'll always, bring me because I'm helping him make money. So the one day I didn't have the money to, he didn't have the money to put me in because he was losing. But that hand was a winning hand, and it's craps. So it hit all six numbers. So not only did he make like two or $3,000 to do it, but then he also made 5,000 because he had all those numbers. And so essentially in that one hand, he made like $7,000. Where was I? I was unfortunately sitting in the chair playing on my phone, because yet again, I don't feel safe. Currently, at the moment, I don't feel safe or secure enough to receive that type of money all in one foul swoop. But I was just like,
Hmm.
dang it for all. Uh, I felt I felt frustrated and disappointed that I I wasn't part of that hand, and I could have made $7,000 in just that one time where that guy was throwing the dice. And so that's probably an example of not feeling safe or secure with money, and or not receiving it at that large amount. So I do think I do desire to feel more safe and secure around money, so that I can do that. Actually, I was dating a guy, and I was like, how can I feel safe and secure with him? And within 2 or 3 days, he broke up with me. So I think probably that whole security, just that word in general, is something that I could probably work on, feeling into that, so I can feel secure with people. I can feel secure with money. Do you feel do you feel money is a person, or it's an energy like a person, right?
I see money like a spirit. Like I see, like I'm a
Mhm.
witch, so everything around me I see as their own little living entities. And I see money as a spirit that we can work with. The
Uh-huh.
thing with money is we put it up on a pedestal and we make it this big deal that it's not. And like it's literally just numbers on a screen. Like even though we might be able to carry cash in our wallet, even that is just paper with some designs printed on it. But we have so many stories and we put so much meaning onto money. It's like we put it up on a pedestal and we make it so much more important than it is. And for most of us, that's a certain dollar amount, because I'm sure I can hand you $5 and you'd feel safe with $5, right? But if I kept handing you $5 and $10 and we got up and up and up, there's going to be a number there where you're like, oh, okay, this is starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable. That importance that we put on it, it creates this energetic distortion. And it's the exact same thing with relationships. Like I've been in relationships before where the person has put me up on a pedestal. And at first my ego loved it. It was like, oh, I'm a princess. This is amazing. They're like worshiping the ground I walk on. My ego loved it at the beginning. And then it started to feel really wonky, because it was like, holy cow, like I'm human. I have so many flaws. I have so many imperfections. And you're putting me up here. There was this weird, distorted energy. And of course, the relationship crumbled because I felt so
Mhm.
uncomfortable. Like there was so much pressure to be perfect and be the person that they thought I was, despite the fact that I was open and honest about all of my stuff, right? But when we do this to a person or we do this to money, we create this distortion because we're sending out a signal that we are below the thing that we want to manifest. And we're sending out a signal that we are not good enough until we have that thing, whether that's a person, whether that's a house, a certain dollar amount in the bank, whatever it is. And everything is energy, and we're equal to everything. Like we're different. I'm different than my dog and my cat and my laptop, but at the end of the day, it's all energy. And so for me to be like, oh my gosh, this mighty laptop that I'm talking into with Kitsy today, it's amazing. And yeah, sure, it's great and everything, but it's a fucking laptop, right? At the end of the
Mhm.
day, it's a laptop. Just like everything else, it's all just energy. And when we realize that we're the ones creating the importance, we're the ones creating the meaning for everything, that's when we can take things off the pedestal and really detach from the stories that we've created around these different things that we want to have. And there's an example. I talked about this in an old podcast episode. It was going back, I think it was sometime in the winter, but I went to the store one day because I was really craving junk food. I had this massive craving for chips and dip. And when I have something like salty like that, I also want to have something sweet and chocolatey. So it was chips and dip, and I think like a Snickers bar or Reese peanut butter cups, something like that, that I wanted to have. And so the desire was to go to the store and get some junk food. So I got in my car and I went to the store and I bought the junk food, right? Desire, we take the aligned action. We're like in alignment with what it is we want. We get what we want. Now, what I didn't do was pull the car over part way to the store and start questioning my worth. Be like, oh, do I really deserve to have this? Am I good enough to have chips and dip today? What if the store is out of it? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I don't have it? Like, and I didn't go into a panic over anything. I didn't create stories. I just went to the store and got what I wanted. If we bring that energy into those things that we're manifesting, like the money, like the relationships, those things that we might be putting up on a pedestal, they're going to drop into our reality so much faster and easier because we're working with the universal law. We're working with the flow of energy that's already present, and we're not creating that distortion where it's something that's like so big and so important when it's not.
Keep going. I'm all yours. So how do we not make it be a pedestal?
I would say one of the biggest things around that is recognizing your own worth and divinity. Like the fact that we're
Mm.
here on earth walking around in these little meat suits is an absolute miracle. Like the fact that we can go outside and we can touch trees and interact with other humans and create human life and like go to the grocery store and eat ice cream. Like these things are miracles that we get to experience. And finding that joy in the present moment, combining that with this feeling of I'm enough, I have everything I need right now in this present moment. So we're not in an energy of lack, scarcity, and wanting. We're in this energy of fulfillment because we are like, we don't need anything outside of ourselves to feel a certain way, and really cultivating these feelings from within and practicing it. That's a big thing. Like, we just have to keep going until it feels like normal for us. And I remember there was a time I had like 21 cents in my bank account because I've been playing this really fun little experiment over the last little while where I will just spend all the money. Like the money comes in and I spend it because I like to practice what I preach. And if I'm going to get up on my platforms and talk about how you can manifest things because of who you are, then I want to be able to actually do this stuff. Right. And so there was a time in my life, this is going back a little while, where I had like a lot of money in the bank. For me, it was a lot of money. We're talking like multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. And I felt terrified. I felt absolutely terrified because I thought it was all going to disappear. I thought, even though I've made this money, I'm going to wake up one day and never be able to make money again. Like I had ridiculous stories and fear around it. And then through my little experiments that I've done with money over the years, there was a day and there was like literally 21 cents in my bank account. And I remember being outside, it was during the winter, and I'm like, I feel happier than I have ever felt. I was so in the present moment. I was so filled with joy. I was so filled with love for just being alive in that present moment that I thought, what's in my bank account? It's completely irrelevant. I don't give a shit. And of course, like more money came through, it always does. But it was that I just remember that day being so pivotal because it's like, wow, I feel safer and more secure with money with 21 cents in my bank than I did with 500K sitting in my bank. Right. And so we just practice this feeling of enoughness, of okayness, and combining that with being in the present moment where we're acknowledging the magic that is this life that we get to experience. And when we're in that space where we don't need anything, we don't want anything because we are everything, then the things from the vision board, the money and the trips and the house and all that fun stuff, they just start popping in because they're like, oh, cool. This is a nice, like, safe place for us to land because there's no lack and no neediness that's like repelling.
Mhm. Yeah, I've created some epic stuff this past year. It's been It's been it's been great. It's really fun creating and just trusting that money will show up and trusting that it'll all work out. That too, that's been really fun too.
Mhm.
So yeah. Any last words? What is the best way for someone to work with you and or get in touch with you if they feel all the great vibes like I do whenever I see your fun stuff?
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. As far as working together, I work with private clients in my coaching practice. And I also do my eye is doing like this really weird twitchy thing. It's so distracting. Um, there we go. So yeah, private coaching clients. I also do readings, and then the witchcraft mentorship is inside of a group program that I run. So if they want the details on that, the best place to find me is either kellydawn.co or over on Instagram or Facebook at I am Kelly Dawn.
Awesome. And I do have to attest, I did hire her and she was lovely and a joy to work with and getting to see all your Voxer comments. It was awesome working one on one with you. So I definitely give her 5 stars out of 5 stars. So thank
Oh,
you
thank
so much for your time. And it was a joy having you. I feel like I just got a private session and I can replay this as many times as I need to. This is
Awesome.
amazing. So,
Thank you so much for
thank you
having
so
me.
much. Yeah, thank you. My pleasure. And yeah, follow her. And thank you so much for tuning in and stay tuned for next week. Bye.